Be talking about New York stream trout fisheries. This is the result of a collaborative effort between Cornell University and New York State DEC. We've talked a lot today about angler surveys, both in terms of methods and results, and this is really going to be focused on combining that with population estimates and modeling with the idea of managing for angler experience. So it's no surprise to anyone in this room that recreational trout fishing is a big thing in New York. And to support this interest, the DEC stocks fish in over 6,000 kilometers of streams every year. To guide that stocking, they use a philosophy known as CROTS, or catch rate oriented trout stocking. The idea being to stock trout in such a way that anglers see a catch rate of 0.5 fish per hour or higher throughout the season. To look at this, to assess how this is working, we studied 9 different streams over a 3-year period. We had streams located in every DEC region, with the exception of New York City. Apparently trout fishing isn't very good there. At Carmen's River down on Long Island, East Quay part of the West, pretty good spread, with the streams chosen to be representative of that region. We used 2 main methods. The first one is depletion population estimates. To do this, we close off a section of stream using blocking nets, and then we fish that from end to end with electrofishing, removing the fish from each pass to a holding area. And then we can look at how the number of fish caught in each pass decreased, showing that you're depleting the population. Get a capture probability from that, and compare that with the total number of fish caught to get an estimate of all fish in the stream, captured or not. We would do this spring and fall on multiple sections per stream. As I go through this, I'm going to be introducing parameters. Ultimately, I'll be showing you a slide with a model on it. And if you're like me, the moment you see a slide full of equations, your brain just kind of freezes up. The idea of this is to introduce the parameters first, so they're at least somewhat familiar when they appear all together. I'm not sure if it'll work, but we're going to give it a try. In this case, we have n sub I. This is just a long string of densities at various times and places. We also used creo surveys. We had 8 of the streams. We had roving creo surveys throughout the season. The 9th one, Carmen's River, we actually had access control, so you can do an access creo survey. Alex will touch upon that more during his talk. Asked a number of questions. We got demographic data. We got car counts, which is our estimate of total angler effort for the season. We got the distribution of effort throughout the season. We also got PK there. That's the portion kept, the probability of keeping a fish, creo rate, if you will. And then, similar to the population surveys, we got a string of catch rates at various times and places. Going into this a little bit more, this is total annual effort. Across the bottom are our 9 streams. You have effort in hours per acre on the left-hand side. The green bars on the left of each group are historical estimates. These are from creo surveys done before our project. Various years involved here. It's a period of about 1985 to 1995. And then you have 2011, 12, and 13 moving right. What we saw is that many of the streams we had much lower effort than had historically been thought. And these were the assumptions we were actually using to guide CROTS. So this is a big deal. Conversely, on one of the streams, we had much higher effort than historical measures. So this really highlights the need to continue assessing effort. As you've seen earlier, this definitely changes throughout time. And you know that this affects the fishery. So once again, that's total effort. We also looked at that distribution throughout the season. At the bottom here, fishing season, April through November. And then you have the percent of the total effort in that stream that occurred during that month. This is looking at 2012. These streams were originally divided by CROTS into 2 different effort patterns. The first pattern having high effort in the spring and then slowly declining throughout the season. The second pattern was very heavy effort right in the spring, right around stocking, and then almost no effort throughout the rest of the season. In this case, that pattern definitely held true for our study streams. The red ones there have about 75% or more of the effort happening in that first month. And afterwards, creel agents sometimes rarely saw anglers in that fishery. Again, pattern of effort. Now this is a big change from the historical model. Creel rates were originally believed for legal-sized trout to be 100%. And that was an assumption in the old model. On this figure, 100% would be a solid red bar. Instead, we're seeing that maybe 20% of fish in many streams are being captured. And that has a huge effect on mortality, on where the fish are disappearing to and how quickly they're disappearing. So, PK. And then we looked at the catch rates. We looked at them for various years and across the season. The red dashed line here, if you can see it, I know the colors aren't super here. That red dashed line is 0.5 fish per hour. That's the goal price. If we're above that, we're doing well. And this is showing that really, for most of the streams, we are. Anglers are getting that catch rate. In some cases, they're getting far higher catch rates. But this also means that there's an opportunity for more efficient stocking. We may be able to stock fewer fish. We may be able to stock fish in other areas that could benefit from stocking. There's a chance to fine-tune things here. So once again, CPUE sub J is that string of catch rates. So then, what is the point of this? This is where I actually show you the model we're working with. This is not extraordinarily complex model. It's a pretty standard fisheries model. What you have, and is there a laser pointer on this?
Yeah, middle button.
Middle button. Fantastic. So we can predict the number of fish at a time, which is based on the number of fish originally or at the time before, minus mortality from natural, from capture and kept fish, and from fish that were released but died due to some stresses associated with being caught in hand. A lot of things up here, but really everything highlighted here in yellow I've already talked about and gone into in more detail. We also have n at t-1 is originally the number that we're stocked. We know that. We put the fish there. We're just modeling stocked fish here, so it's a known quantity. And then this S here is taken from literature values. That's the probability of fish that is handled dying due to that handling. We have this at about 10%. This was in the original model. There's no reason to believe that that's really changed. So if you look at this, there's only two parameters that show up here that we haven't talked about. And that is Z sub n, the natural loss rate. I may say natural mortality, that's what we call it in modeling, but it includes emigration, it includes fish that have disease, it includes predation. Any reason that a fish would disappear from the studied area becomes Z sub n. That is not due to anglers. And then Q is catchability, it's the rate at which an individual fish is caught. We don't know these, and the data we have, we can't accurately take it directly from that data. But what we can do is we can estimate it using parameter estimation, maximum likelihood. We can run the model, see how it fits our observations and what we see is actually happening. And I can actually put this into a program where it plays with those, puts in different values, plays with those values, those parameters, and chooses the one that has the best likelihood, the best model fit. We don't really need to go into how that works, but this is the residual sum of squares that goes into that likelihood function. And I just want to show you that once again, these are the n sub i's that we got from our population estimates, and these are the catch rates from the creel surveys. So this is all information we got using standard methods. So once we have that model, we can construct a population curve. We can say that we know the population was up here due to the fact that we stocked that many. We know that anglers took out a certain amount, that our estimated natural loss took out this many per day, and then we can say, well, on this date, the population will likely be here. We can change that curve to respond to different factors. For example, if it's at pattern 2 streams where effort is really high in the spring, we get a different curve. We could say the natural mortality is really high here, so get a different curve. Or add in multiple stocking or increments. So it goes down and then we pull it back up again. This is looking at a fit of an actual stream here to that model that we estimated. On top here are the population estimates from electrofishing. On the bottom are the catch rates from anglers. It's artificially pulled high, like I said, by stocking. We know it was there. And it fits pretty well. Down with the anglers, you see a lot of noise. And you notice that that curve is artificially raised. There's kind of a constant edge in that. That's wild fish. With angler surveys, they weren't accurately discriminating. They weren't taking any data on whether the fish were marked. So we don't know if they were wild brown trout or stock brown trout. We can't really accurately get at that. We could model it so that wild brown trout decrease, and we have parameters that account for that rate of decrease. However, in looking at our population estimates, in many cases we found that there are actually more wild trout found during the fall electrofishing surveys than in the spring. So whatever happened, catchable trout were appearing, or there are more of them at the end of the season. We chose to estimate it as a constant here, saying that there are this many wild trout in the stream. They're going to be that many throughout the season, because obviously we weren't seeing them decrease. So it's the best possible at the moment. But there is a lot of noise in fitting the catch rates. We could also take those estimated parameters and break them up different ways. We always estimated catchability as the same for all streams, which is Q here. But natural mortality can be split up so that each stream had a different rate of that, or each stream in year, or all streams at the same rate, but 1-year-old stockfish had a different loss rate than 2-year-old stockfish. So compare this using AIC. Now, if you're not familiar with AIC, it's often used in model selection. It takes the fit of the model, as well as a penalty for the number of parameters, and turns that into one value. The reason you want a penalty for number of parameters is you can put in 100 parameters and it will perfectly fit your data, but it has no real-world application. They're not real parameters, they don't reflect anything, and you're never going to be able to apply this to anywhere else. With AIC, the lowest AIC value is considered best. 2 points or more difference between AICs is considered a significant difference, so if it's 2 points lower, it's significantly better. And if there is not a 2-point difference between two, you take the one that has the fewest parameters. We found that the natural loss rate varied by stream in the study, so 9 natural loss rates was the best fit. With the DEC stream type, it's divided into A streams and B streams through a set of carrying capacity and habitat characteristics, was the second best. In the real world, this is stream type is probably the best thing. I would expect to see each stream having an individual loss rate. And I was really happy to see this come out as a top model. But if you're scaling this up, if you're trying to apply this to all of New York, you're left with having to estimate a parameter for every stream. The fact that the A stream, B stream worked as the second best model is really heartening. It means that we can take those habitat characteristics, say streams fit here, and actually estimate a mortality rate based off of that. I included these models. We actually tested 12 overall, but the ones with age and year showing that they were among the top 5 models, but saying that A streams and B streams have different loss rates and 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds in the streams have different loss rates was not significantly better. They didn't add very much to the model. 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds are really behaving quite similarly. For future directions with this, we're obviously putting together a final report for the DEC. We've also created an Excel workbook that has the model in it, has our estimated parameters, allows managers and biologists to change those parameters. Excel might seem like kind of a simple choice for that, but in talking with the manager and biologists we were working with, it was what everyone was comfortable with. It's relatively future-proof. I don't think Microsoft is going to be making Excel files obsolete at any point. From an IT perspective, it works well. You can distribute it through email. You don't have to install any new programs. The next version of Windows is not going to cause it to crash. And it was pretty easy to put it in there to modify it, to change it as necessary. We also created this so the manager and biologist could play with stocking rates. They could say, well, if mortality went up in my stream or if I got a lot more angular effort, what would happen? It's a nice tool to have in your model.